Good morning, Rabbi Sai. How's everybody doing? It's awfully quiet. Wow. Noam, say something. It's like dead. Am I talking to myself here? What's going on? Okay. Baruch Hashem. Good morning. Lili Nishmas Imi Miras Yerusmas Mochai. Today's shir being sponsored anonymously. And also, for Shlema, for one of the members of the shir who's struggling with COVID in the hospital, Yaakov Yehuda ben Gittel, for Shlema, by Isaac Marashli, for a healthy delivery, healthy baby, and a healthy mommy, Fredo Bat Mazel. Psuras Tovas should be Mazel. Audrey and Keith Reich, they sponsored yesterday. You see what happens when you sponsor in honor of the engagement of the daughter, Chanasara to Yoshi, Yeshua Gadasi. And Pardas HaChodesh, Shia Greenfield, Green Star Electrical Contracting, Yossi Klein, Superior Plumbing from Muncie. Yishkoach Yossi for everything you've done. Basically, the whole, if you see this year in Shiva World News, it's all Yossi Klein's fault. If you see an ad in Ami, it's all his fault. He went bananas. He wants to spread Torah, that's his thing. So Yishkoach Yossi. Real quickly, we have some emails here, and I'm putting these people in the front of the pile. Why? Because these are Rabbeim. I love emails from Rabbeim. If you're a Rebbe, send in an email. If you're a Magid, I will try to put you to the front. Hello, Rebbe. I was again inspired by your pre-shir words. I finished Masechtas Brachos with you and made a beautiful scene for my family. I started Shabbos, but fell victim to the Yetzer Hara's taina to make up days. It kept falling in and out, only learning less than 30 blat. Same thing happened to Eruvin. Barely covered 7 blat. And it wasn't like I had great lumdus on those 7. But now I'm back. Shko Yipol Tzadik come. He's back for Pesachim. This I'm not so excited about, where he says, and I got a head start by 2 blad, Baruch Hashem, to trick the Yetzer Hara. I don't know. I mean, after all, if he falls for the same no shofar trick every Rosh Hashanah, how smart can he be? He's pretty smart. That's actually a real clever trick. He said, go ahead. Stick with the Olam. Everybody's on Daf Dal today, you do Daf Dal. Don't be Oiber Chacham, do Daf Vav. Trust me. The point of this email, besides reconnecting, and yes, you're 100% correct, we're our mishpacha, is to repeat what I've written in the past. The time you take for emails, chizik, sponsors, and jokes is well worth it, and it's a mitzvah. Take my word for it. Our first grade Rebbe, daily sealing innocence, we all truly possess down deep, and how effective the little things are. Keep up great work. I'm confident you read the emails. I hope that this in return will give chizik to me and so many others. Please extend my thanks to Rabbi Nachman Seltzer for including my email in his Yeshiva World article. I got thousands of responses about it. We're now starting the 7-minute daf. Yes.
YouTube might be frozen.
You might have to come to my house. No. It's going nice and strong. Anybody see an issue with YouTube? I don't think so. It's bad? I don't know what to tell you. It's going very strong over here. No, it's fine. Just in New York, the cables don't go all the way to New York yet. It's under the water. You know how it goes. They have that thick cable, the AT&T underwater cable. New Yorkers, you don't see it? Oh, Eli Dykman from Borough Park saying it's fine. This is from Yerchmiel Lichtman. Thank you, Rebbe Eli, for the shir. I was zeicha to learn Bracha Shabbos and Erev, and I join your shir now. I'm a Rebbe in Philadelphia and from Chicago originally. Thank you. Here's a nice one from Simcha Fried, not a Rebbe or Magid Shir or anything. Dear Raveli, Rabbi Say, if you're having a great Maisa or a story how you just finished Masechta or you just, I don't know, you just got out of jail or something, and send in the Maisa. Dear Raveli, I started learning Daf Yomi after going to the most recent Sima Shas and started listening to your shir in the early stages of Brachas. When you opened up your first shir in Pesachim regarding the arguments of the Yetzer Hara, you directly hit on something that I, and I'm sure others have felt before finally committing to Daf Yomi. As someone who was not a great student in Gemara and Yeshiva, I still had a desire to learn, but never found the right type of shir as to learn in depth was something that I was not successful as in the past. When I would consider learning Daf Yomi, was inevitable that I would hear someone who's good at learning remark that Daf Yomi is not really learning, as they go too fast and you're not going to retain much of anything that you learn. That happened to me. I used to sit in a kollel in Chicago, and the kollel guys used to come over to me and say, it's a pasnish that you're learning Daf Yomi. It doesn't pass. And now I was back in Chicago. A few of those kollel guys told me they're in business now, and halavai they should have 10 minutes to learn a day. Anyways, there's always going to be a guy that comes over to you and tells you that you're not doing the right thing. That is true. You're going too fast and I can retain. This comment would always deflate the motivation that I had and resulted in hardly learning for too many years. You go over to somebody and say something like that, you don't know what kind of effect it has. It's unbelievable. To hear you speak about this, being from the Eight Sahara, showed me that you understand why many of us are only getting back into learning after many years. There's no greater joy than feeling that your neshama is connecting. And when you said that we could say, when we go to Shamayim, that we took out 45 minutes a day for our relationship with our Creator, it made me feel really good and further validated my feeling that I finally found my shir. Thank you, Rav Eli, for understanding that it has held many of us back in the past and for creating a learning environment which makes everyone feel comfortable and at home. Simcha Fried. We'll see you at the Siyum HaShas. Forget all those naysayers. Rabbi said today's Daf Daled, and we are holding, this is very rare, we should be holding the first word on the Amud, right where we need to be. Says the Gemara. Now, if I didn't have a chart, and if I was giving a shir like it gave in Chicago without charts for 8 years, so this is how this Gemara would sound like. Rav Barachua de Reb Chia, Rav was the son of the brother of Reb Chia, Ubarach Hosei, and he was also the son of the sister of Reb Chia. Kisalik lahasam armale Ivakayam, and when he went over there, he said, "Is Iva alive?" Okay, but we have charts, so let me show you exactly what's going on here. There were two people that were married. We don't know their names, but they had a kid, a girl. Her name was Ima with a yud over here, sticking a yud. The red had a red. There were another two people. One of them, Rashi tells us, is Rav Acha Mikafri, and he had a wife, and they had another kid called Ivu. What happened was, unfortunately, this woman and this husband over here, they died.
Well, you're not really centered on YouTube.
Okay, like that? Or maybe I should move this. Nah, that's fine. I think they are centered. You're not centered. Fine. All right, here we go. So what happened was, Rav Acha Mikafri and this woman, they remarried, and they had the famous Rebbe Chia. So now Rebbe Chia has a step-brother, his name is Ivu, and a step-sister named Ima. They are not related. The red and the blue aren't related. Red and blue create violet, so I made it in violet. Rebbe Chia is in violet. Again, so this couple had Ivu, this couple had Ima, and now they got married. The woman from this couple and the man from this couple got married, and they had a child called Rebbe Chia. But the step-brother and sister got married also. They're not related. They're allowed to get married. And who came out of that relationship? Rav. The famous Rav. Gadol Hador in Bavel. Rav. So Reb Chia is Rav's uncle from his father's side and from his mother's side. Reb Chia is his father's brother, and his mother's, Rav's mother is Reb Chia's sister. Rav's father is Reb Chia's brother. Rav Barachua de Reb Chia. Reb Chia was his uncle from his father. Ubarach Hosei, his uncle from his mother. Rabbi say, by the way, I have to mention this real quickly. I keep on forgetting to say this. You know, like when you watch YouTube, they say smash that subscribe button. Well, smash that subscribe button, not because I'm going to make anything on it, because you need like 1 million views and whatever. That's not going to happen this lifetime probably. But it's kedai because we're learning Daf Yomi. And there's a shir every day. So it tells you, notifies you, here, the shir is about to start. It's kedai to subscribe. Subscribe. And when I mentioned, nobody corrected me. I mentioned that we are on Torah Anytime and All Daf and Kol Al Shon and YouTube. And we have an app from Leon Welcher from South Africa. And we have a website. And we're podcast. Nobody even mentioned the podcast. But we forgot about Zoom. Zoom is the number one thing. That is the place that you feel mishpacha. You see everybody else. So Remember that. Anyway, subscribe. Says the Gemara, Kisolik Lahasam, when Rav arrived in Eretz Yisrael.
Next time you should do it like this. Put your finger at the bottom. Press the button right here to subscribe.
I don't want to, I'm not a YouTuber, but I'm saying if you're already on YouTube, you might as well subscribe. It's Kedai. Otherwise, you're going to forget. All of a sudden, Pesachim Daf Hey, you forgot to watch it. Okay, I watch Pesachim Daf Vav, and then you start the whole cycle. Like this, you get reminded. We're continuing the sugya of talking with a refinement, speaking nicely. Says the Gemara, Kisolik La'asam. So Rav, again, with this whole complicated Reb Chia, his uncle from both sides, he goes there to Israel to visit his uncle, Reb Chia. Omar Lei, his uncle says, Ivu Kayam, your father, my brother, Ivu, is he alive? Omar Lei, Imo Kayemes. You're asking me about my father? Why don't you ask me about my mother? Rav is trying to avoid the question because, as we learned yesterday, you don't tell somebody bad news. You tell somebody was nifter, ksil, you're considered a shaita. Omar Lei, Omar Lei, Imo Kayemes. So Reb Chia repeats the question. Oh, what? What about my sister? Is she alive? Omar Lei, Ivo Kayam. So he's dancing around there. He asked me about my mother. What did he ask me about my father? He asked me about my father. What did he ask me about my mother? Reb Chia was a very, very smart person. He realized immediately that they're both nifter. They're not around. Omar Lei Shamei. So he tells his shamish on the spot, Chaloitzli min olai. Take off my shoes. V'hoylech kelai acharai lebeis hamerchatz. And I need to take a shower. What's going on here? Oh, he started schwitzing because his brother and sister were nifter. He had to go take a shower. He wanted to show that he's not in Avelis anymore. So he was in Avelis for a moment. Take off my shoes, I'm in Avelis. And now I need to show the world that Avelis is only for a few minutes. I'm going to take a shower. Bring me to the Beis HaMerchatz. Shema minot la, says the Gemara, you see from here, 3 halachas. Shema minot aval asur b'venilas hasandal. You see from the fact that Reb Chia told his shamish, take off my shoes. An aval cannot wear shoes. Ushma minot shmur rechoika. These are all halachas in the Shulchan Aruch. If you hear a distant, not rumor, but you hear that somebody was nifter more than 30 days ago, the entire Avelis lasts for one day. You don't do Shiva. Ushma minot miktsas hayom kekulai. And a couple of minutes of that one day is enough. So it's 3 major halachas that we learn from the story of Rabbi Chia. Rabbi said, last night I was on a business call, and a from guy on the call said, "Oh, Rebelli, I watch your shir. I listen to your shir." It's like, oh, great, Baruch Hashem, this, that. It wasn't more than 3-4 minutes into the shir, and this from guy starts dropping certain words. Like, if you listen to the shir, we just learned about refined speech, about you have to internalize it. You can't just read it. That wasn't the main problem. The problem was it was on speakerphone. My whole family was listening to the conversation. Okay, that's a different stuff. Shoy. Ahuda Amar Dunu Dini. So we're continuing with this idea. It's very interesting. The way a person speaks, the language he uses, you could tell a lot about him. Like similar to the way a person's name shows who a person is, a person's speech also. So a person used to say, you don't like it? Take me to Bezdin. Take me to, these guys. Let's go to Bezdin. Amri, so they said, Shema Mino Midon Kasi. He's from Shevet Dan. D'chsiv, Don, Yodin, Amoy, Ke'achad, Shiftei Yisrael. Comes from Shevet Dan. Last night, Rabbi Yaakov Mantros, we have tremendous Talmid Chacham in our neighborhood. It's a big schos. He came over to give me his brand new sefer, Pesachim. I said, give me one vart. So he said, on this line, Don Yodin, that he said, is it a good thing that you go to business all the time, or is it a bad thing? He said, well, there are some people, he's a dayan. He says, some people want to know what the halacha is because they don't want to be upset at somebody else. They have tightness on somebody. You were mazik me. I want to know what halacha says. If halacha says that guy doesn't know me, I'm done. I don't have tightness. It's not, take me to Bezdin, take me to Bezdin. It's more of like, it's a ben adam chaver thing. I don't want to be upset at so-and-so. Interesting idea. Ahud avik ha'azil v'omar, Akeif Yama or Sisni Birasa. We know a lot of these people. I want to build a mansion with an ocean view. I want a nice house on the ocean. Batku, Vashkechu, The Mizvulun Kasi. It was genetic. It was in his genes to want to be on the water, like Zvulun, Duchsiv, Zvulun L'chayif Yamim Yishkoy. All right. So Rabbi Isai, if today's your first day joining us, you didn't really miss much of Pesachim. You missed that the word Ar means night, and we had a sugya. But here's where the Masechta really starts. The sugyas of Bir Chometz, Bdikas Chometz, V'ash the Kaimon the Kula Alme Ar Urtu. Now that we know that the word Ar means night. Michti, Bein Rabbi Yehuda, Bein Rabbi Meir, as we're going to see soon, this is Machlokes Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Meir. Chometz, Eino Yasur, Elo Mesheisha Sulamalo. Erev Pesach, we stop eating Chometz at a certain time, but Midairaisa, it's midday. Let's call it noon, just to midday, 6 hours into the day, Midairaisa you can't eat. V'nivdek b'shis. So do b'dikas chametz in the 6th hour. What do you gain by doing a b'dika the night before? You could eat chametz from after b'dikas chametz. You could eat pizza, donuts, all the way till the 6th hour day. So why in the world are you checking for chametz? Now, what's beautiful about Masechtas Pesachim is that we're so familiar with most of these concepts, but maybe we'll have better understanding of them. But at least we know what they are. You'll say somebody that's very meticulous with mitzvahs. He wants to do it earlier. So he's jumping the gun. He's doing it all the way at night. Nivdaik mitzafra. So you want to jump. So do it in the morning. So do it the first thing in the morning. Why are you doing it at night? So that you don't wait till noon. Do it at Elois. Do we have time? I'll just tell you a half a story because most of you are familiar with the story. But when I was 10 years old, my parents made Aliyah to Eretz Yisrael. And my father, if you've seen him at the Siyum, he's a person that wears talis and tefillin all day. He's a kaddish. He sits with his gemara. That's all. So we come to Bnei Brak and he has this new chumrah. He heard that the chickens, when they come off the truck, they chuck the boxes off the truck. And that could be a problem of treifa. The vice is just looking at me. You hear this? Treifa, you ever heard of this thing? It jolts up their bones. Maybe they can't walk. He says, Elio, we got to go to the factory at 3:30 in the morning. So we go to the factory at 3:30 in the morning. He knocks on the door. He says, listen, I want to check your chickens to see that they can run. They started rolling. Miss Sugar, what? Get out of here. Who are you? He says, no, I need to check the kids here. He convinced them. He starts taking out these chickens, and they're dead. They're like sleeping. It's 3 a.m. He takes them out of the box, puts them on the floor, and they're not moving. Nu Elio, you see, they're trephus. They're all trephus. I said, no, but they're sleeping. No, they're trephus. Kitzer, he let his guard down for a second, and 1 or 2 of them jumped up and ran away. So now you have chickens running between the shaykhtim and the machines, and he's running and Abalgan. Needless to say, they never let him in again. But that was Zrizim Magdim, 3:30 in the morning. You got to go check the chickens in Bnei Brak. The rest of the story we'll say a different time. Upon him, so maybe you have to, so do it in the morning. Why at night? How do we know this? Bris Milah is during the day. Betanya, kolayim kulay, kosher lemila. Elo, shizrizim magdimim lemitzvahs. You could do Milah all day, but if you're careful with mitzvahs, you do it early in the morning. Shenemar, vayashkim Avram ba'boiker. Avram got up early in the morning when? Alois, before Nates. He got up before, but that's it. You don't have to do it at night. So we know that B'dikas Chometz at night. But why? Here's the reason, right here. Omar Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak, b'shah shebnei adam mitzuyim b'vateyim. At night is a time that people are not at work. They're at home. So it's a great time to tell them to do it. And as the Gemara is going to describe later on, it's better to do it with the candle than with the light of the sun. So it's nice and dark. People are at home. That's when we do the b'dika. Amar Abaye, Hilkach. Hai tzurim mirabon. And therefore, if you're a Talmid Chacham, loy liftach bidonei bu'urto detleisar denagi arbeisar. Detleisar denagi arbeisar. In other words, the night of the 14th, don't start learning. You have Seder, that's not when you don't start learning. Why? Dilma mashchalei shmaite, you'll get so involved in your learning, v'asilim nuyim mitzvah, and you'll forget to do b'dikas chametz. So if you open up the Shulchan Aruch, you'll see right away, if you can't start learning, then certainly you can't start a meal, you can't take a bath, you can't do malacha. And the Shulchan Aruch brings, you should probably start a half hour before the mitzvah. And what if you're somewhere that you're not even doing b'dika? B'kitzer, you have to be careful not to do anything until you do b'dikas chametz. We just mentioned Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak many times. That's how the Gemara works. We said the halacha of b'dikas chametz. Now, derech agav, there's other halachas that Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak mentioned. Very interesting stuff. Nogea l'maisat a lot of people. Hamasker bais l'chaveira. Guy, somebody goes to a hotel for Yantif. He goes to Orlando. He rents a house in Orlando. Bar ba'asar. Comes, he shows up. When is he going to show up? He shows up Erev Pesach on the 14th. Ami livdai. Who has the chiyuv to do b'dikas chametz? Ala masker livdai the chamir dedeyu. Is it the owner of the house, the landlord, because he owns the chametz? If this chametz in the house, it's his, so it's his responsibility. Or perhaps it's the renter that's mechuyev to do the b'dika. Why the isur b'shusikai? At the end of the day, the chametz is in his possession. It might not be his chametz, but it's in his possession, and that's the problem. Says the Gemara Tashma. Perhaps I could bring a raya from mezuzah. If you rent a house, and we know this halacha as well. Who has to provide the mezuzah? The renter has to provide. The landlord doesn't have to provide a mezuzah. Says the Gemara, mezuzah choivas hadorhi. Mezuzah is very different than chametz. Mezuzah is because I live in the house, I have to provide a mezuzah. A house without a resident is not mechuyev. If I have an empty house somewhere, I don't have to put a mezuzah on it. It's the person that lives in the house that creates the chiyuv for mezuzah. Rashi brings a pasuk veisecha. Rashi also says it's the shmira. It's there to protect you. It's not protecting the landlord, it's protecting you. By the way, there was one of the, I should say, I don't know, I don't want to use the lashon, strange. One of the hardest things that I've ever heard from Reb Chaim Kanievsky, I couldn't believe my ears, and I had somebody go back and ask Reb Chaim Kanievsky if it's true that he said it, and he said yes. Till this very day, I have no clue why, but he said, in a case where somebody had his friend watch $100,000 for him, put it in a safe. And in the middle of the night, somebody came and took all the money out of the safe. And they found out that the mezuzah was puzzle. So Reb Chaim Kanievsky said that the guy owes him all the $100,000 because he didn't provide the proper shmira for that room. I completely don't understand it, but that's Shitas Reb Chaim Kanievsky. In other words, he's taking this idea of shmira to the next level. It's not just, it's some sort of Kabbalistic shmira. It's a shmira for your house. You're a shomer, you told somebody you're going to watch his money. That means he expected you to have that shmira on the door. A guy with a gun, a mezuzah with a Kodesh Baruch Hu's name and it's kosher, and you didn't provide that, you're chayiv. Okay, take it up with him. But I'm just saying this idea of shmira. Hachamai. But what about when it comes to b'dikas chametz, which is only the Rabbanan, as we're going to see over and over? That midaraisa, it's enough to just say it in your heart. I'm mevatel the chametz. I nullify it. It's garnished. Rabbanan said you should go do a b'dika. For whatever reason, we're going to get there. Amar luhu. So what's the halacha? Who's mechuyev? Amar luhu Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak Tanina. We learned it. It all has to do with the keys. According to Rashi, it's like sort of a kinyan. That's when the rent starts. According to Taisus, it's more of a practical thing. I can't check a house if I don't have a key. So whoever has the key, he's the one that has to check. So it says in the Brisa that it depends when you got the keys. If you received the keys after the 14th started, in other words, the 14th is when the chi of chametz, b'dikas chametz, was already initiated. So who had that chi when it came in? If the landlord was holding onto the keys when that moment happened, then it's the landlord's responsibility. If you came to Orlando on the 13th, 2 days before Pesach, now it's your responsibility. And if he received the keys afterwards, if he had the keys first and then later on was the 14th, then the renter has to do the b'dika. Bo Menei Rav Nachman Bar Yitzchak. So another question they asked Rav Nachman Bar Yitzchak. Another great question. Hamasker Bais L'Chaver Bar Ba'asar. Somebody who rents a house on the 14th, Cheskase Baduk or Ein Cheskase Baduk. Do we have a chazaka? Could we establish that most Jews, it's a very exciting mitzvah, it happens once a year. People take care of this mitzvah because chametz. I could assume that if I walk into somebody's house, I rent somebody's house, it's already checked. L'may nafkamina, says the Gemara, who cares? L'shaili, go ask him, he's right here. Okay, the less I can't ask him, he's gone. He disappeared. It was an internet transaction, go pick up your key. I don't have a chance to ask him. Does the second guy, the renter, does he have to be matriach himself and start checking the house? It's a mefurish brayso. It says, Hakol nemonim al bir chametz. Everybody has nemonos, we could believe them, that they did bir chametz, they did bigas chametz, afilu noshim, even women, afilu avodim, afilu ktanim. Now this is a tremendous chiddush. A woman, evet katan, don't have nemonos when it comes to eidos. So why should I trust them here? Says the Gemara, my time mehemni. Typically, they don't have nemanas. All of a sudden, now they have nemanas. Obviously, says the Gemara, it's not because we trust them, per se. It's because there's a chazaka that the house is checked. Labeshom, the cheskase baduk. So we just turned to the Amud Beis, sponsored with Eli Nishmas, Ruchamachai, Fruma, Bas, Rebdoiv, Pinchas, Yibadul Chaim. Ruchamachai, Fruma, Aleh Shalom. Rabbi Chiel Shraga ben Avram Halevi Olav Shalom. And the second sponsor is Kalmer from the 5 towns, Lili Nishmas, his father, Menachem Mendel ben Simcha. And the third sponsor of Turning of the Daf is by the Fine and Pearl families in the Schus of a Refuah Shlema for Mindel Elka Bas Edel Shishrav a Refuah Shlema. The Kosovar Hakol Chavir Eitzel Bdikas Chametz. Stop the middle of a line, not good. So, why should I have a chazaka? Because there's a concept called a chaver. We learned about a chaver many times. Chaver is a person who's very makbid on tum tahira. So you could use that terminology here as well. People are chaverim when it comes. Everybody goes out and buys that because chametz kit with the feather. I have no idea what it does, and the candle and the bag and the this, and everybody knows about the 10 pieces of bread. People are makbid on it. It's something that everybody does. Hakol chaverim eitzel b'digas chametz. It's not very few amaratzim when it comes to b'digas chametz. What's this chaver? Says the Gemara, the Sa'ya chaver shemeis. A person who's makbid on tahara and everything else, and he dies. V'niach migura melei peres. He left over a whole storehouse full of fruit, and they were in a position of chiyuv truma. They smoothed it out, whatever it is. Even though he just harvested that day, and Nebuch, he got a heart attack right afterwards. I could assume that this chaver, he's not going to let it go. He's not going to leave this world without taking trumas or maestros. Fine. So if he has a chazaka, his fruit have a chazaka, so does everybody's house when it comes to chametz and b'digas chametz. Says Gemara Memai, who told you that in this situation we believe them? It's because there's a chazaka. Dilma shani hacha mishum nika amriani. The woman said, there's a bedika here. That's why we trust that there's a bedika, not because we're using a chazaka. Says the Gemara, wait a minute. Why should I believe what she says? Nowhere else in the Torah do we believe. Maybe one case with the nemenas al baila or whatever it is, but typically there's no nemanas. Elamai, the cheskasi baduk. So what is it? We have a brayso that says we believe a woman and a child, that is bdika. And you tell me there's no chazaka. There's no chazaka, so we trust her, but we don't trust her. So there is a what's going on here? So you tell me this is chazaka. Cheskasi the baduk. The cheskasi baduk. If so, then you miss the point. Haya kol ne'emanim. So then why does the brayso use a lashon of they're trustworthy? It has nothing to do with trustworthy. A house has a chazaka. Regardless if there's a woman there, a child there, a servant there, an eved, the house itself, without anybody there, without anybody opening up their mouth and telling you what happened, if I walk into a Jewish home, I have a chazaka on the house that there's bedikas chametz going on here. Nothing to do with the woman. So why are you sticking in this idea of she's neman? She's not neman. The house has a chazaka. Elamai mishum amira dahani. So yes. So we have to go back and say no. It doesn't fit into the words. So it has to do with her amira, the little child's amira. He said it's badak, and we trust him. And if they didn't say anything, we don't trust them. So So then in the reverse, we have a reverse raya, that there's no chazak at all. Only in this specific case, because the woman said something, we trust her. Says the Gemara, I'm going to take it all back. I'll explain it to you. There is a chazak on a house. If you rent a house from another Jew, most likely he checked the house, he left it clean from chametz. This is a chazaka. So then why do I need the woman to say something? This is a specific situation. You saw the guy leave. He left. He's gone. He went on vacation. He got stuck in a different country with COVID or whatever. He never came back. So you know that most likely he didn't check the house. You have good reason to believe he didn't check. He didn't check. There's a chazaka that he didn't check. And then the woman and the child and the Evet, fine. So they came on that, no chazaka, they have nemanas. We shouldn't trust them at all. She's not trustworthy for Eidos. Rabbi said this is one of these sugyas that the article wished that it didn't exist. They probably use different words instead of Isha, they probably use the Chveisvos. It's not politically correct. But I'm going to tell you a nice pshat here in a second. Says the Gemara, Kivin the bedikas chametz midrabbanan. The whole bedik is only midrabbanan, the midaraisa bebitul ba'al masagi. All you need to do is say it in your heart that you're mevatel. Hemnu rabbanan midrabbanan. So over here, Rabbanan went light on you. They were relaxed. Why? They invented the whole idea of bedikas chametz. So they invented it and they have the right. Who asar, who hitir, hapesh asar, hapesh hitir. They say that there's a chiyuv b'digas chametz. They also said we're going to trust the woman. Why? So Rashi says over here.
A step further, yeah.
That what?
Instead of just saying that they believe that it was checked, now it's saying that they believe that they checked it.
Okay, what's the difference?
There's a big difference. Well, if they're allowed to do the bdika itself, or they're just allowed to say that they know that somebody checked it.
Yeah, but it's not like.
They're not on that they checked it themselves.
I don't see a big difference. I mean, it's not like one of these like shchita or something else. But okay, here let me finish this and tell me if you maybe there's a little bit better understanding here. It's just one nakuda that will touch upon what you're saying. Maybe Rashi says that the pasuk uses a lashon of tashbisu. Tashbisu, says Rashi, is in your heart. You could take care of it just by thinking that the chametz is gone, it's nothing. Taisa says that it's a halacha of hefker. I say that my stuff is hefker, I don't want it anymore, it's hefker. Gone. So with the right, that's all I need to do. I mean, mafker, I say, Shalom Yisrael, it's not mine anymore. When it comes to hefker, you have to say it in front of 3 people. Like here in Eretz Yisrael, I don't know if they do it in America. Like if you want to toivel kli, so all of a sudden on the WhatsApp group, one day I'm looking at the WhatsApp group, it says, a bunch of pots, a picture of a bunch of pots on my front door. Like what's going on here? So what, I should come take it? Oh, no, because the halacha says you have to be mafkir. So I'm being mafkir in front of 3 people for 10 seconds. Now I'm going to grab it. Now I don't have to be toivel it anymore. Great. So, but you have to do it in front of 3 people. No WhatsApp. Says Taisves. That's midoraisa. Midaraisa, you don't need 3 people. Fine. I saw a beautiful vart in the Ran. Listen to this. This gives us a great idea here of what's going on in terms of this bittul. Says the Ran, what if you steal your friend's chametz? You have a friend, a guy, a shegitz, a guy, he doesn't want to do b'dikas chametz. He owns a store. You walk into his store on Pesach, and he didn't do bittul chametz, and you grab a bag of cookies. Are you a ganav? No, you're not a ganav. You know why? Because it's not his chametz. Baruch Hu took it away from him. Baruch Hu said, it's not yours, it's Pesach today. You don't have a right to own chametz. Says the Rambam, Baruch Hu gave it back to you so that you're over the Isser. So when you say, Avatel, my chametz, you're just saying to the Rebbeinu Shalom, take it back. You took it away, you only gave it back to me so that I could be over Isser. I don't want that Isser. So just by being Mevatel, I don't need 3 people now. It's not typical hefker where I have to say I own something legitimately, and in order to take it out of my rishos, I have to say it in front of 3 people. That's not what's going on here. You barely own it. You own it on a thin thread that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave it to you so that He could punish you if you don't. So now I'm just being mevatel it. I say I don't want it. Levi kafir da'ara, and by being myself in my own heart, that works in this specific case. I thought it's a beautiful idea of how bittul works when it comes to chametz. But there's another taisvus here. And taisvus, if you look like 4 lines down from where it becomes wide, what's going on here with these women? And taisvus says, very interesting, brings a Yerushalmi. Mikal Makayim, like 2 lines down from Mikal. We wouldn't trust these women. Why? It's very difficult. You have to be very, very careful. And this you have to read very low, very, very low. They're lazy. So what's shot? They're lazy. You see these women working from Hanukkah cleaning the chametz. They go in every nook and cranny. What are you doing lazy? You're lazy. So the Rabbeinu Peretz, one of the Balei HaTosfos says, Pshat is that they are lazy to the halach of bdika. They say to themselves, we just worked for 4 months cleaning the chametz. I'm going to go now do a bdika at night for 2 hours. What are you, crazy? That's their laziness. Not that they are physically lazy. It's beautiful. Explains this idea, the tosfos, the discriminating against women, biased, lazy. No. This idea of, it makes a lot of sense. Us men, we don't lift a finger. Oh, Shalom Aleichem, here we are. We're checking the chametz. And then we have ours. But you didn't do this draw well, shkoyach. But they check the chametz. They want, you're the lazy one. Okay, fine. Ibaylu. If by chance there's some woman watching, so for her. Ibaylu. Hamaskir bais l'chaveru becheskas baduk. Very interesting question. You know, a couple of years ago, I remember the mice over there. I don't know if we want to go into it, but in Orlando, a bunch of people showed up, and there's no matzah, no marar. Some guy pulled a fast one on them. You remember the mice? And with people had to send them the last minute. There was chaverim helicoptering in wine for. They didn't have pasha dali kaisis. It was a mess. So here's the story. Mamish the story. Hamasker, this happened in the time of the Gemara as well. Hamasker buys the Chavero, I rented a house, a vacation home for Pesach. Becheskas Baduk, you wrote on the website that it's going to be nice and clean for Pesach. Umatzai shenet Baduk. Like Dumim v'layar, you come, there's pretzels everywhere. It's not checked. Mao. Mi have kemekach tos. Did the transaction not occur at all? It's a mekach tos. Or like Toshma. Certainly in a place where it's not acceptable to hire people to check. Like in nowadays, I don't think people are like that. They don't hire the biggest chametz company to come in and check. People love doing the mitzvah with their own body. So certainly in that case, the transaction is chal. Okay, so you had a guy that pulled a fast one on you, but it's still a rental. You cannot get out of this. But it says Abaye, even in a place where it's acceptable to hire people to check. And you paid him. You pay him for that? Not, okay, there's a whole nidon exactly. What's going on here? You paid, it said on the website that it's perfectly clean. And you probably paid a couple extra bucks for it. And the guy pulled a fast one. No, it's not a mekachtos. Why? Because I know deep down you want to do the mitzvah. What kind of business? But I don't. I said before, I'm paying extra for it. So Rashi sticks in a word here. The ashkach beiso achriti the shapiramina. This guy, he has a trick up his sleeve. He wants to get out of the rental, not because he's upset that the guy didn't do B'dikas Chametz. He found a nicer mansion down the block. The one, in Orlando, they have the bowling alleys in the basement, he didn't know that. He only got the one with the pool table in the garage. He wants the bowling alley. So he tells the guy, I found 3 pretzels. You told me there's no pretzels. I found 3, I want out. Says Rashi, this guy's playing games. That's why it's not batel, and it's a good mekach. Nan hasam. Here we go, Rabbi Isai. The sugyas of Pesachim. So Erev Pesach, Midaraisa, you have to burn the chametz on the 7th hour, the beginning of the 7th hour. But we say you could eat up until the 6th hour. 6th hour starts burning it. 1 hour early. That's Remeir. 1 hour. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, you can only eat the 4th hour. The toiling kol chamesh, the 5th hour, it's nishtahi nishtaher, it's hanging. You can feed your animal, but you don't eat any chametz. In other words, they both agree that you start burning it in the 6th hour, the beginning of the 6th hour. But according to Rabbi Yehuda, we got to be careful. You don't know, sun, not sun, you're going to get confused with the time. We added 2 hours as a buffer, so you don't, by mistake, bust it and eat chametz in the 6th hour. Says the Gemara, everybody agrees that 6 hours end of the story. Not for sure. How much did the Chachamim add? Okay, that's it. But midaraisa, 6th hour. Min alan. Where did you get this in the Torah? So we're going to have 5 pirushim. Where do we get this from? Today we're only going to do 1, maybe 2. Omar Abaya. Trey Kroi Ksivi. There's 2 psukim that seem to be a contradiction. Here they are. It says in the pasuk, in terms of bir chometz, shivas yamim sa'ar lo yimatze b'vateichem. Shouldn't find any sa'ar. We're going to go into that at 11. But it says mefurish shivas yamim. In other words, there's not a moment in Pesach that you're allowed to have chometz in your house. Shivas yamim, the entire 7 days. All of a sudden, and that is Shmooze Perkid Beis, Pasuk Yutes. But before that, in Pasuk Tes Vav, it says, Ach, Bayoim Harishoin, on the first day of Pesach, Tashbisu, Sar Mibotechem. What's going on here? It says, Mefurish in the Pasuk, you should do Biur Chametz, burn your Chametz on Pesach. In other words, there's a few moments of Pesach. After Leil Seder, you come in, Kaddish Urchatz this, you eat your matzah, and then you go and you burn your chametz. That's what it says in the pasuk. Ach b'yom harishon. On the first day of Pesach you burn, not before. Says the Gemara, Muzdach Zayin, it's obvious from this pasuk, since it already tells the Shivas Yomim Sar Lo Yimatzeh, it has to be that b'yom harishon is not referring to, and we're going to go into it, it's not just a doichak. It really makes a lot of sense. This is how the Torah talks. B'yom harishon is referring to Erev Pesach. On Erev Pesach you burn the chametz. Why the 6th hour? We're going to learn tomorrow. Ach, the word ach, chilek, it's half the day. Okay. But because of this, the explanation of Bayom Harishon tells us it's on the 14th, that's what we need to know for today. Okay, it said, how's it possible? The Torah is telling us that the 14th day is when you burn the chametz. Maybe the Torah is telling us you should burn the chametz at the Seder, after Seder, during Seder, but at night, not before Pesach comes in, after Pesach comes in. Why would I think something like this? Look at this word, Shivas Yamim. It's a daytime isser. Maybe the whole chametz is a daytime isser. I have such a havamina. Leilos loy, kamash malon afilu leilos. You can't have chametz at night. Say the night not. Says the Gemara. The truth is, we could do this. This is a sugi for tomorrow. It goes in. So let's just stop over here for today. Rabbi Isai, it's been wonderful. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. And now Noam Fix will say some Tehillim. Shir
עמוי. קמחו הסליחה למען תברך. כי ניסנה כיסא נפשי ולברו אכלתי. תפשילות להם משמים לבויקר, שומרים לבויקר. אכלתי שלא לאדוני כי אם לא יחס והרבה לא יקדוש. ויפקס נשאר מכל בני סוף. אחינו כבי ישראל נושאים בשר ושירה עמדים בביהם ובן בשמק מאחם להם וצאים מצם וחופר לו ושבט לגבולה שבר לו ונפי בן מרוחי.
Amen. Shkoya, thank you. If you're wondering who that is Yeshua Aaron Price. Yeshkoyach Bernard, no, you got some feedback about you became famous. Yeah. The impetus. Yeah, it's beautiful.
You can give a shout out to, we've got 3 new guys. We've got Dr. Jeff Schreier.
Oh, I didn't read your email. You're right. You want to write it again? Write me another email with a new guy because you only gave me 2 names. Be'ez Hashem tomorrow, I'll do the shout out to them. It's always a beautiful thing when new guys I'm in Starif.
Yeah, Baruch Hashem. I'll send it as well to Yeshua. Should have those names as well, so you can contact them as well.
Oh, that's not nice. If you're a true friend, you wouldn't do that to them. Shmuley Burnout, it's great to see you. Wow. We got a chazaka going here. 3 days in a row. Beautiful. You got to stick it out. It's unbelievable, Masechta. It's great. Rabbi Yosef Kessler, Shalom Aleichem. So 1 minute. So it was your child. It was your kid.
Yes.
It was. Okay, there was a correction there. Fine. I got it. So wait a minute. Your son lives in Houston?
Yes. Brother. My father.
Who lives in Houston? Your brother or your son?
No. I don't have a brother. My son Eliezer Kessler lives in Houston, Texas.
All right.
And my son Benjamin Kessler lives in Kew Garden.
He's the guy from the sanitation?
You living in Houston? If you had a brother?
Hold on, Rabbi Kessler. Is your son the one that works in the sanitation department?
Yeah.
And he's an engineer over there and he does the daf in between? That guy.
Right.
Beautiful.
Wonderful day, everybody.
Shkoyach. Whoa, you can't say, that's my line. Can't use that line.
Trademark.
Ellie, today was the first time that you had 2 guys in the chair in an ambulance. Mark Ashkenazi and Lady Freeman were watching the doc in the ambulance. And my telephone. Okay. Wait, with that video as well? Yeah. Ellie, tomorrow you're going to have a guest.
Who?
Someone, a surprise, coming to Big Chemistry.
You already called me.
Is it the bubblehead?
Oh, the bobblehead. Finally going to come out who it is. I didn't have time to print it. We'll have to get to that.
Ellie, in the book you got, in the photo book, there's a hint for who it is. If you look at the camera, you'll find out who it is.
Check out all the pictures. You see the bobblehead, the other table, one of the guys.
Yisrael, are you hinting to me something? Yisrael, you hinting something? Oh, time out. It's so pashut. Listen, who is excited about me wearing a shtreimel? It's obvious. It has to be a shtreimel.
They ruined my travel. They ruined it. It's a $5,000 travel. Looks like a $50 travel.
Well, time out. Didn't you get a timeout? Didn't you get that shtreimel in that store? What's it called? Osherad, exactly. Osherad. It's a bingo shtreimel. Come on.
I think he bought a Strabo in Amazing Savings.
Yisrael, you didn't. I know you. You didn't spend $5,000 on a shtreimel. There's no way. Oh. Eli Deichman. Eli, I want to talk to you a second about Safros. How big is the Sefer Torah that you could actually read without straining your eyes?
12 to 14 inches.
How many? 14?
12 to 14.
Without straining your eyes. Because over here they're saying it should be 36 centimeters.
It depends how big your eyes are.
Average people.
I think like 14. I don't know, 12 inches.
Well, the question is, if your Rav Sefer Torah, could it be red or just beautiful?
No, they read all the time. It's not a size. It's a print. It has to do with the cipher.
Uh-huh. That's what I was asking.
My they use all the time.
They do? When did they use it?
They use it in yeshiva.
Really? Wow. Weisberger? I noticed him. I noticed Rabbi Weisberger. Shalom Aleichem. How you doing? I didn't want to put you on the spot and embarrass you in front of the Olam. Okay.
I'm good. I saw this big 8-minute daf on Shmooze's jacket. I said I can't reach the shirt.
Ah. Just like in the video. He wasn't lying in the video. Eli, how come you don't wear the jacket? What's the shot?
You gotta get him one.
Is that the problem? It's just a money thing? Just a money issue, Mark? What's going on here?
Ellie, we could have next year. We should have him wearing the jacket.
No, you should know, it only works. It works with a Hasidic Ingeman with a long beard. Imagine if Rabbi Avram Weisfish was wearing the jacket. The contrast between the beard and one of these sport jackets, then people are like, what is going on here? And then they look and they see the 8 minute and it's Torah. Stam, a clean-shaved guy that's wearing one, yeah, okay, fine. It's football. I don't know what. Nobody cares. Oh, I gotta shut off this YouTube. Hold on a second.